Spotlight.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Union Cabinet decisions. The participants are Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist, and Lalima Aneja anchor. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, met and took three significant decisions. One on the 16th census for the country, second in the coal sector for energy security, and third MSP on copra. The Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, outlined the decision.
आज कैबिनेट में तीन बहुत बड़े फैसले लिए गए हैं, बहुत महत्वपूर्ण फैसले लिए गए हैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की अध्यक्षता में। सबसे पहले सेंसस 2027 जो कि एक बहुत बड़ी एक्सरसाइज है और विश्व की सबसे बड़ी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव और स्टैटिस्टिकल एक्सरसाइज मानी जाती है, उसके लिए बजट अप्रूव हुआ है 11,718 करोड़ रुपीस का। दूसरा, कोल सेक्टर में यानी हमारी एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी के लिए बड़ा रिफॉर्म किया गया है कोल सेतु के माध्यम से। और तीसरा, किसानों के वेलफेयर के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की सरकार प्रतिबद्ध है और 11 वर्षों में कई बड़े स्टेप्स लिए हैं। उसी कड़ी में आज एक बहुत बड़ा सेफ्टी नेट का एमएसपी कोपरा के लिए अप्रूव हुई है।
For more on these decisions, we are now joined by veteran journalist Shekhar Iyer. Welcome, Shekhar, to Akashvani.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with the decision on census. How significant is the conducting of the census of India 2027, Shekhar? And it's a huge exercise considering the logistics. We are the most populated country in the world. More than 11,000 crores would be spent on this. About 30 lakh people would be employed. Please throw some light on this.
This is the most important data collection drive, I would say. And the last census was in 2011. And this is a census that is done every 10 years. Basically to collect the state of the economy of the nation in terms of how individuals are performing, both in terms of economy and as a society as a whole. How is it moving forward? This data will essentially consist of everything, right from how many households are there, how many of them own their own houses, how many are living in flats. It will also throw light on the number of people living in cities and in villages, small towns, 2-tier, 3-tier towns, as well as the economic profile of these households. Apart from that, the exercise is also to collect what are the assets owned by each of these households. Apart from that, there will be a enumeration of population. And for the first time, the Union Cabinet had earlier decided that this census 2027 will also include castes. So this caste enumeration is going to be the biggest exercise among other data that will be collected. And the basic thing is, it's going to involve some 30 lakh field enumerators. That's something like 3 million enumerators will be out in the field. And also for the first time, the information or the data is to be collected on a mobile app. And there will be a central portal also for monitoring the data that is being collected. This is going to be done in two phases, Lalima, actually. First phase is called the house listing or housing census, which will start from April to September of next year. The second phase, which will start from February of 2027, is actually population enumeration, where they'll visit each household of every town, of every village, and record the number of people, the gender as well. Also, and as I said this time, this is going to be involving first time caste will be counted.
Yes, indeed. This will certainly help the government formulate policy and make corrections wherever required. For the moment, let's go on to hear the INB Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, who's also telling us about the census as to how he would be going about it.
सेंसस देश की जनसंख्या को एक पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम में इन्यूमरेट करता है। 0 hours of 1st March 2027 यानी 28 February और 1st March की जो मिडनाइट है विल बी दी रेफरेंस आवर फॉर एंटायर सेंसस। 1st October 2026 के 0 hours को स्नो बाउंड एरियाज के लिए डिसाइड किया गया है। सेंसस 2 phases में होगा। फेज 1 में फोकस रहेगा हाउस होल्ड्स के अंदर क्या एमिनिटीज हैं, हाउसिंग कंडीशन कैसी है, कच्चा घर है, पक्का घर है, घर में कितने रूम्स हैं, किस तरह से घर में कोई व्हीकल है, घर में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कनेक्शन कैसा है। दैट विल बी दी बेस फॉर फेज 2, जिसमें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है डेमोग्राफिक, सोशियो कल्चरल एंड इकोनॉमिक पैरामीटर्स का इन्यूमरेशन किया जाएगा पूरी जनसंख्या का।
Shekhar, when we talk about the census of this country, we are about 140 crore people. Do you think that this time, one thing which will set it apart is the extensive use of digitization? As you mentioned, there will be a mobile app, there will be a central portal. Would that add to the accuracy of the entire exercise? And how is it going to help or facilitate the entire exercise? The fact that we are a far more digitized country today.
Yeah, because what will happen is authorities will be able to better monitor the progress of the census also. Because apart from recording it on paper, they'll be simultaneously recording it on the application, which will have all the details. So it will cover, number of houses covered, and also there will be boxes to tick, basically whether a particular family living in a particular house. What are the facilities? Does it have access to drinking water? Does it have access to, say, toilets? Does it have access to running water? Does it have access to a refrigerator, cooking gas? Does it have access to, say, the nearest transport connectivity? And how many children are there? And what is the access to schools,
yes,
particularly primary schools, secondary schools? And what is the distance that is taken by a child in a particular household? Now, these are very important because this kind of data will actually enable our authorities to plan, let us say the case of schools, if number of central schools or schools, even by the state government, because this information is going to be available both to the central government as well as to state government and to various planning boards, because ultimately it is for them to look at those figures because that gives them some kind of a picture as to the way we have progressed, what are the economic indicators, what are the social indicators, and how do we work on new programs so that we are able to give better access to people in terms of education, health facilities, because that's going to be another important.
Yes.
What is the nearest primary health care center, and do they get access to multi-speciality hospitals? So these are kind of information that is going to be very valuable, particularly if we look at it in terms of the information that will flow from rural India.
Right.
So this whole thing is going to be very, very important. This kind of data will also help us look at how many districts that need more attention. Which are the regions, southern region, northern region, northeastern region. And within this region, there will be sub-regions where you will find lack of progress in comparison to other places. Those details are expected to come in this data collection. Essentially, it's a data collection, a collection that will definitely provide bird's eye view, I would say, because more details will be forthcoming. It will be a long exercise in terms of how are we as a nation progressing, how we are in terms of our access to various modern facilities.
And census is going to be a very challenging task in one aspect, considering the fact that we are such a diverse country. We have people who are living in far-fetched areas where traveling is tough. There are remote areas, there are hilly areas. So that is going to be a challenge, but I'm sure the government will be able to cope with it. And we move on, Shekhar, to another important decision made by the government. Cabinet approves Coal Setu window. Now, when we talk of Coal Setu, it's actually an acronym for Policy for Auction of Coal Linkage for Seamless, Efficient and Transparent Utilization. We're calling it Coal Setu. How do you describe this for a common listener? What exactly does it mean? Is it also going to help in energy security?
The last auction policy was designed in 2016, wherein any domestic buyer requiring coal could participate in a kind of auction.
Yeah.
And now what is going to happen is coking coal, particularly which is used in our power stations and for other industrial purposes, they are going to do it through a new window, they say, what they call a separate window. And this will enable where any domestic buyer, particularly, because under the existing policy, for allocation of all fresh coal linkages to, namely, sectors like cement, steel, sponge iron, aluminium, or even fertilizer, that includes the captive power plants also. That is done in auction basis. And the 2016 policy said that when a particular auction is done and it is allotted, that particular use has to be ensured. If it is for a particular power plant attached to a particular industry, it has to be used only there. It cannot be diverted.
Okay.
So this is to ensure, basically bringing in more market dynamics, as the cabinet was told. This is ensure that in terms of current availability of coking coal and current demand, and as well as future market dynamics. And this will actually ensure, Lalima, ease of doing business. See, a particular industrial group may be having a cement plant or a say aluminium plant or a steel foundry, if they have got allotted something, say a particular project has ended, they can easily divert this coal for the other project.
Right.
Because under the current scheme, if they've taken coal or bought coal for a particular project, it cannot be used for other projects. So this was basically to ensure that current arrangements of coal supplies, and these are done without any restriction. So, of course, in this, traders will not be allowed to participate. People actually who buy and sell coking coal, they will not be allowed.
Right. So it kind of widens the scope of coal auction, right? Let's see what the Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has to say on this.
एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी में देश ने बहुत बड़े फैसले लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में, और भारत अब कोल के प्रोडक्शन में ऑलरेडी आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ बढ़ रहा है. बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म 2016 में किया गया था. 2016 में कोल सेतु के नाम से, सेतु मीन्स सीमलेस एफिशिएंट एंड ट्रांसपेरेंट यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ कोल, इसके माध्यम से जो नॉन पावर सेक्टर्स है, इन सब सेक्टर्स के लिए जो कोल का रिक्वायरमेंट होता है, उसको एक बहुत ही ट्रांसपेरेंट मेथड से ऑक्शन करने की व्यवस्था लाई गई थी 2016 में. अब उसमें एक सेकेंड बड़ा रिफॉर्म किया गया, आज कैबिनेट में अप्रूव हुआ है. अब इसमें irrespective of the end use, any user can participate in the कोल सेतु विंडो. और बड़ी बात यह है कि अब कोल के एक्सपोर्ट को भी प्रमोट किया जा रहा है.
The third decision taken by the cabinet today, Shekhar, was on the minimum support price for copra for 2026. Now, the government always has had a soft corner for the farmers and has tried a lot. How important do you think this is that the MSP for 2026 season for copra season increase of 445 rupees per quintal for milling copra and 400 rupees per quintal for ball copra? How would you explain this?
No, this higher MSP, has been a long-standing demand of particularly coconut growers in Kerala. And this will ensure they get better returns and also incentivize farmers. What has happened recently, Lalima, there has been a shortage of copra because farmers stopped producing, rather raising coconut farms. The sense is the prices were falling. And because this happened a couple of years ago, that resulted in actually a shortage of copra and availability of coconut. Now what has happened is, by increasing the price, more farmers will be incentivized to expand the copra production. Copra is basically the dried coconut which can be put to various use, whether extraction of coconut oil or for other purposes. Yes. So this is a very important decision. This is going to help in meeting the growing demand for coconut products, both domestically and internationally. And the central node agencies under this price support scheme, the central node agency for procurement is the National Agriculture Cooperation, that is NAFED, as well as National Cooperative Consumers Federation. They'll continue to do it with a better price. More and more farmers will now be incentivized to raise more crop, or rather bring more acreage under copra.
That sounds good, because I think coconut is very central to the Indian cultural system. We often have coconut in our social spiritual events, isn't it? So it's a good decision that the farmers would be incentivized to grow more coconut on their farms. Thank you very much, Shekhar. I think you've thrown very good light on the decisions taken by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs today, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on Union Cabinet decisions. The participants were Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist, and Lalima Aneja Dang, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on Iyer. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on Iyer Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.
Spotlight.